Early morning sunlight streams through the tall, arched windows of this courthouse and stretches long shadows across the polished wooden floors. The air is scented faintly with old paper and polish, mixed with the nervous energy of those waiting inside. Kody Brown sits at the defendant's table, his hands clasped tightly together, knuckles white, his foot tapping out a subtle rhythm that belies his attempt at calm. Across the room, Christine leans back slightly in her chair, her eyes narrowing with precision. Every detail of the courtroom, from the soft rustle of papers to the click of high heels on marble, seems magnified in this charged atmosphere. The judge enters the room, gavel in hand, and the murmur of the crowd instantly dies. Attention shifts to the front of the courtroom. Kody straightens up, feeling the weight of the day pressing down on him like an invisible force. Today is not just about finances or legal technicalities. Today the secrets, betrayals, and fractures of the Brown family will be laid bare in front of strangers and loved ones alike. First to meet the judge's gaze, Christine's face was calm, but her eyes burned with a quiet fire, the kind that comes from years of being overlooked or dismissed. She knows exactly what she's here to do, to claim justice for herself and make sure the truth cannot be hidden any longer. Meri sits beside her, shoulders tense, her eyes darting nervously to Kody. She bites her lip and tries to steady her breathing. The slightest noise, a cough, rustling of papers, makes her jump. Further down, Janelle's hands are folded in her lap, as quiet determination exudes from her. Robyn, poised and confident, reviews her notes one last time, her mind already preparing for the confrontations she knows are coming. The prosecutor stands, clears their throat, and outlines the case. Allegations of financial mismanagement, secret deals, and manipulation. The courtroom is silent, each word absorbed as if the weight presses on every shoulder. Kody's stomach churns. Every accusation feels personal, because each phrase reminds him of failures he hoped no one would ever uncover. Christine's lips press into a thin line. The smallest smirk of satisfaction appears as she listens, her eyes flicking to the jury, more interested in their reactions than in making sure her voice and presence are felt, even before she speaks. The first witness is called, a longtime family associate who knows the ins and outs of Kody's financial decisions. They recount instances where money was shifted, accounts hidden, and decisions made without the full consent or knowledge of all the family members. The room is tense. Even the spectators lean forward, unable to tear their eyes away. Every phrase spoken feels like another layer being peeled away from the carefully maintained facade of family unity. Meri winces at one point in the testimony, recalling the sleepless nights she spent doubting those decisions, the silent frustration at being kept in the dark. Janelle's calm exterior cracks for just a moment, a flicker of hurt crossing her face. Robyn does not break eye contact, though the slightest flexing of her jaw betrays how much emotional weight she continues to carry. Christine is steadfast, her voice low but incisive as she asks pointed follow-up questions that draw out inconsistencies and lacuna in the testimony. Kody is next on the stand. He swallows hard, trying to steady the tremor in his hands. Each question feels like walking a tightrope over a pit of judgment. He recalls the nights of whispered arguments, meetings behind closed doors, decisions made with the best of intentions, but executed in ways that have gone awry. "I never wanted to hurt anyone," he says, his voice barely of a whisper, as his eyes dart to each wife, as if in search of forgiveness that might never come. The courtroom is heavy with emotion. The jurors shift uncomfortably, caught between legal facts and the human drama unfolding before them. The judge watches carefully, his expression unreadable, but the subtle nods and frowns hint at the fact that even he is being affected by tension. Christine leans forward, carefully choosing each word as she cross-examines Kody, weaving together the narrative of broken promises, mismanaged trust, and hidden manipulations. Meri is called back into court to recount her experiences. Her voice shakes at first, before settling into a steadier cadence as she describes moments of betrayal that went unspoken for years. The courtroom listens in rapt attention. "I trusted him," she says quietly, eyes glistening. "And I thought our family was stronger than secrets. But I was wrong." The subtle echo of her words lingers in the air, heavy and undeniable. Janelle follows, detailing private arguments and incidents that reveal long-concealed cracks in the relationships from public view. The tension builds, a living pressure in the room that seems to make every breath heavier. Robyn stands to take her turn. She is calm but firm as she talks about how her trust has been repeatedly tested and her feelings manipulated in ways that only she could feel at the time. As she reveals how incidents of tension combined to make a fragile, tenuous family life, her voice carries through the room with calm but pain-tinged resolve. All eyes are on Kody as he listens silently to the weight of decades' worth of choices and secrets mounting on him as never before. As the morning wears on, emotions run higher. The courtroom is thick with tension. The air is almost palpable, heavy with anticipation and dread. Kody's defenses start to crack, each carefully constructed excuse and justification, sounding less plausible under the combined scrutiny of his wives and the prosecution. The jurors lean forward, mesmerized by the human drama playing out before them. Each revelation making the stakes feel higher, the consequences more immediate. By midday, the sisters start to interact with each other in ways the audience has never seen. Glances exchanged, slight nods, and subtle adjustments in posture tell a story of alliances forming and fracturing in real time. Christine's piercing gaze challenges Kody in silence, while Meri's trembling hands reveal her inner turmoil. Janelle's quiet composure masks deep frustration, and Robyn's calm exterior belies growing resolve. The courtroom is no longer merely a legal arena. It has become a theater of raw emotion, a stage upon which years of hidden truths now collide in a tragedy both horrific and riveting. The prosecutor presents documents, bank statements, emails, and notes that corroborate so many of the witnesses' testimonies. Every turned page feels like another nail in the coffin of Kody's credibility, and the reactions from the sisters are visible and immediate. Christine's lips press tight as she reads, her satisfaction tempered by lingering sadness. Meri exhales shakily. Janelle's hands tighten in her lap. Robyn's eyes flash with a quiet intensity, signaling that the confrontation is far from over. The session draws to its closing, but the tension in the room has yet to dissipate. Sisters collect their thoughts. Quiet mutterings and furrowed brows signal the battles to come. Kody leans back in his chair, trying to appear nonchalant, but a tight jawline gives him away. The judge, feeling the emotional weight upon all, orders a brief recess, with the hope that the room would compose itself once more. The room is thick with anticipation as the afternoon session gets underway. A heavy silence pervades the room. The only sounds are the rustling of papers and quiet murmurs from the audience. Everyone knows the first revelations from this morning were merely the tip of the iceberg. Kody sits at the defendant's table, posture rigid, fingers tightly interlocked, as if he is anchoring himself against the storm that is soon to hit. Across the room, Christine sits forward, a flicker of determination in her eyes. She is ready, always prepared to push, prepared to confront, prepared to expose what she believes has been hidden for far too long. The judge taps his gavel lightly, calling the room to order. The tension sharpens. Almost immediately, the first bombshell of the session drops. An email previously undisclosed is entered into evidence. Hidden financial transactions and secret communications with its contents indicate Kody may have been selectively transparent. The courtroom leans forward in collective motion, the whispering now replaced by stunned silence. Even the judge's expression tightens as he skims the document. Christine's gaze settles on Kody, the barest hint of a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "So this is what you've been hiding," she says softly, loud enough for him to hear. Her tone is even, but laced with quiet, cutting anger, the kind that cuts deeper than shouting ever could. Kody's face whitens as his lips set while trying to find his words, but nothing comes. The room seems to close in, the sun slicing through the window, now casting stark, angular shadows that reflect the emotional fractures in the Brown family. Robyn stands with quiet authority, walking towards the witness stand. She is calm, almost serene, but there is an intensity in her eyes that commands attention. She begins an account of times when Kody's choices, financially and emotionally, had direct consequences on her trust, her relationships, and the stability of the family. Her voice cuts across the room, measured yet full of emotion. Long nights of questioning herself, wondering if she misinterpreted what happened, or if the truth had been deliberately withheld from her. Meri looks at Robyn, a mix of relief and anxiety on her face. She knows what Robyn says might validate her feelings, and at the same time dreads the fallout, the emotional upheaval this testimony might unleash. Composed until now, Janelle leans forward, clutching the edge of the bench as she listens intently. Even she cannot conceal the storm beginning to rage inside. Recollections of quarrels past and sly betrayals welling up like tides against frail cliffs. The former family accountant, who worked closely with Kody, takes the stand as a witness for the prosecution. He initiates his testimony by describing irregularities of financial records, transfers that seemed to bypass standard protocol, and discrepancies in how money was allocated among the family. Christine's eyes narrow with every word being confirmation of long-held suspicion. Kody fidgets, with his hand involuntarily twitching with each allegation landing with growing weight. As the accountant proceeds, specific instances of mismanagement emerge. One particularly damning example involves a large sum of money supposedly earmarked for household expenses, which instead was redirected toward investments Kody had decided upon sans consultation with any of the sisters. Christine leans forward, her voice low but razor-sharp, asking pointed questions to bear the implication of such actions. Kody's responses are measured, almost rehearsed, but there's a tremor in his voice that betrays his anxiety. The courtroom seems to hold its collective breath. The tension is palpable. The air is heavy with anticipation, almost electric. The jurors are on edge, the audience is captivated, and the sisters' emotions ripple visibly through the room. Meri shifts in her seat, her eyes welling as she remembers nights of whispered arguments and half-truths that led to this very moment. Janelle exhales a slow breath, fighting for composure, as layers of frustration and betrayal threaten to break the surface. Robyn's steady gaze never leaves Kody, silently daring him to offer a defense that could survive the scrutiny of both the court and his family. As the session wore on, Christine again took the floor, her cross-examination mounting. She connected evidence from the emails and financial records with emotional testimony from the sisters, showing a pattern of manipulation and secrecy. Every question she asked seemed to land like a hammer, jamming another wedge into the fragile structure of trust Kody had counted on. The courtroom was tight with tension. Every eye was glued to him, every gesture, every slight facial reaction in a bright spotlight. Kody struggles to answer, fumbling at times as the full weight of multiple accusations bears down. The emotional toll is great. His hands shake slightly, his throat tightens, and his eyes flicker nervously from one sister to the next. The sisters, firm yet composed, united in their resolve, make clear they'll not let history be rewritten or forgotten. Even the judge recognizes the emotional weight of the instant. His slight nods are a form of acknowledging both attention and concern. Meri is the next one to testify in greater detail. She tells of a private argument she had with Kody, a moment where she realized just how much had been withheld from her over the years. Her voice shakes at first, but then gets stronger as she speaks further. "I trusted you," she says softly, tears glistening in her eyes. "And I believed we were all in this together." But the truth is far more painful than I ever imagined. The words resound through the courtroom like a shockwave, the emotional weight almost tangible. Robyn's testimony continues, providing corroborating evidence and personal insight. She describes the moments of emotional manipulation that Kody employed, subtle strategies that guaranteed disagreements and divisions were kept behind closed doors. Janelle adds her perspective, recounting incidents that further highlight a breakdown in communication and trust within the family. Christine remains vigilant, her questions precise, her demeanor unyielding, as she sets the seal on this narrative of betrayal and deception. The session nears its climax, with the prosecution introducing a set of photographs and private correspondence revealing the emotional and relational fractures previously unknown to the public. The images, the emails, the letters, all carefully cataloged, each one a piece of a puzzle painting a vivid picture of a family under immense strain. The courtroom is dead silent. The weight of the revelations presses upon everybody. Kody looks at each piece of evidence, wide-eyed, conscious that the truth now stands fully exposed. United in their resolution, the sisters confront Kody head-on. Christine's voice is even, articulate, and laced with both sorrow and righteous anger. "How could you let this go on?" she asks softly, though every word cuts like a thunderclap. Kody opens his mouth to respond, but the words falter, swallowed by the weight of the moment. Meri's tears fall freely now. Janelle's composure starts to crack, while Robyn's stare cuts through him as cold as a blade. Suddenly, the doors of the courtroom swing open. All heads turn as one figure steps in, their presence commanding immediate attention. A former confidant of Kody's, a person who has been privy to the secrets of years, walks forward, a folder in his hand. The murmur of the courtroom rises, an almost tangible wave of anticipation and anxiety. The judge gestures for the individual to take the stand. The air becomes electric. Every person aware that the revelations about to be shared could completely reshape the trial and the Brown family's future. The confidant speaks for the first time. Slow, deliberate words begin to reveal a testimony that will peel away layers of secrecy that nobody anticipated disclosing in court. Christine leans forward, her eyes ablaze, as the beginning of the narrative starts to unravel. Kody shifts uncomfortably, recognizing that the walls he had built around himself and his actions are starting to break down. Meri, Robyn, and Janelle glance uneasily at each other, with each sister steeled for the emotional storm that is about to hit full force. The session ends with a sense of anticipation hanging over the room. Everyone in that room knows very well that what has just been brought to light is only the beginning, and that the next session will likely bring even more shocking truths to light. The family, the court, and the audience are left holding their breath, wondering just how far the web of secrets stretches and how devastating the fallout will be. The morning sun barely breaks through the heavy curtains hanging in the courtroom, casting a muted glow across the polished wood and marble. Thick with anticipation, the air in the courtroom hangs heavier than it did the day before. Kody Brown sat rigidly at the defendant's table, his fingers intertwined so tightly that his knuckles had gone pale. His eyes darted around the room, catching glimpses of the sisters, the jurors, and the gallery. Each glance was a reminder that every choice he had made was now under intense scrutiny, every secret ready to unravel in the most public way imaginable. First up is Christine, tall and poised, yet tense. She does not have to say much yet. Her eyes speak volumes of the frustration of years, the pent-up emotion ready to erupt. Today is not about evidence or legal arguments, but about deeper wounds, hidden betrayals, and fractures that have silently grown between them for 2 decades. The silent, waiting courtroom seems almost to hold its breath while the judge calls the session to order. The prosecution begins by revisiting the emails and financial documents introduced the previous day. But today, the focus shifts to the human cost, the emotional and personal damage these secrets have caused. Each document, each revelation, is not just a piece of evidence. It's a testament to broken trust, fractured relationships, and choices that have left scars invisible to the outside world. Kody is again called to testify. But this time, the questions pierce deeper. They are no longer about numbers or transactions, but about promises made and broken. His voice is tight as he speaks, almost a whisper. I never meant to hurt anyone. I thought I was doing what was best. But the courtroom feels suffocating. The sisters' stares, sharp enough to cut through the most carefully constructed defenses. Each word feels like a dagger. Each pause a reminder that trust, once broken, is difficult to repair. Robyn rises, her calm exterior now layered with quiet intensity. She recounted private incidents of manipulation, emotional isolation, and subtle control that Kody exerted over the family's relationships. Her words are precise, but carry the weight of years of personal anguish. She describes nights of silent frustration, of watching the family fracture in ways no one else could see, and the emotional toll it took on her. The courtroom leans in as if drawn into a private confession, transfixed with the vulnerability she shows them. Next up is Meri, who still shakes slightly as she begins to testify about private conversations with Kody that have revealed a lot more than just financial secrecy. At first, her voice quavers as she names the incidents of favoritism, the broken promises, and the subtle betrayals. I trusted him, she says as her voice shakes. I believed we were all in this together. But the truth is, it's far more painful than I ever imagined. The weight of her words was palpable in the still courtroom. Janelle's hands knotted in her lap as she listened, her face battling for composure in the wake of such revelations. The prosecutor seized the moment, guiding each sister's testimony with careful precision, as they connected emotional incidents with the previously presented financial evidence, a pattern of behavior over many years. Christine leans forward, her voice low and conciliatory, yet slicing, as she cross-examines Kody over contradictions in his previous testimonies. Kody swallows hard as he tries to answer, but the quiver in his voice betrays him. Each sister's eyes pierces him like a spotlight, revealing to everyone the depth of his unease. Robyn steps forward again, describing a specific incident where Kody's decisions caused deep emotional pain. She recounts a moment when the family was left divided over an important issue, forced into quiet tension and mistrust. Her words are deliberate, and the courtroom absorbs them like a quiet storm, powerful, inevitable, and impossible to ignore. Janelle nods in subtle agreement, recounting her perspective on the same event, highlighting how misunderstandings were compounded by secrecy. As the session wears on, the focus shifts to previously undisclosed documents, letters, messages, and personal notes that detail emotional manipulation, subtle favoritism, and divided loyalties within the family. Christine reads one email aloud, her voice unshaken but full of tension. You promised transparency, yet the decisions were made behind closed doors. How can we ever trust you again? The courtroom absorbs every syllable, the reactions of the sisters visible and raw. And with each revelation, Kody's face grows paler. Meri struggles to speak as she recounts personal pain tied to these documents. I was left in the dark so many times, wondering if my voice even mattered, she says softly, tears brimming in her eyes. The audience in the gallery makes uneasy shifts. mesmerized by the raw honesty of her testimony. Janelle's composure starts to break, and she exhales slowly, holding onto the bench for support. As if her own emotions are now spilling over, Robyn's presence is steady, though there is an edge in her eyes from frustration barely contained. It reaches a crescendo as Christine rises, facing Kody squarely. Her voice is even, incisive, and laced with pain. "We trusted you. We followed you. And yet here we are, exposed, humiliated, and in pain because of choices you made alone." Kody opens his mouth, but the words falter. Decades of secrecy have finally pressed too heavily. The room seems electric. Every onlooker, every juror, and every family member holding their collective breath, awaiting what would follow. Then, without warning, the heavy oak doors open. All eyes turn as a figure enters, thick folder in hand, their presence immediately commanding attention. Whispers swell through the room. The judge invites the figure to come forward. A silent observer for years, a confidant who had witnessed Kody's actions and decisions firsthand. Someone with knowledge that could completely upend the narrative in this courtroom. The witness starts off slowly, detailing instances of hidden manipulations, emotional control, and strategic omissions that even the sisters hadn't fully realized. Each word adds a new layer to the growing tension. The courtroom is by now fully transformed into a stage of emotional reckoning. Christine leans forward, drinking in every word, while Kody's hands tighten into fists, the knuckles whitening as the walls of control he thought he had built around himself crumble. Meri listens silently, her fear swallowed, knowing the revelations could vindicate her feelings or further complicate the emotional wreckage. Janelle exhales shakily, her calmness fraying at the edges as memories long buried resurface with crystal clarity. Robyn's gaze is unyielding, her mind working over every particular detail, strategizing how to respond to each claim with poise. The session nears its end, but the emotional and dramatic tension remains at a fever pitch. Every eye in the courtroom is locked on Kody, every heart beating faster as the magnitude of the revelations settles in. The judge calls a recess to try to give the room a moment to breathe, but the atmosphere is thick with unresolved tension, anticipation, and anxiety. The afternoon session starts with an almost electric tension in the courtroom. Heavy curtains block much of the sunlight, and a soft, muted glow illuminates polished wooden benches and the high, solemn ceiling. It is dead silent, except for the soft rustle of papers and an incidental clearing of a throat. Kody Brown sits ramrod straight at the defendant's table, his hands clasped tightly in front of him. Every slightest movement feels amplified in the dead air, as if the walls themselves were listening. Christine sits poised, eyes sharp and unwavering, very ready to pounce on the smallest sign of weakness. Meri's hands quiver slightly in her lap, and she draws a shallow breath in an attempt to steady her racing heart. Janelle leans forward, composed yet tense, as if bracing herself for an emotional storm she knows is coming. Robyn sits with quiet authority, her calm demeanor a bold contrast to the tension radiating from the rest of the courtroom. All are aware that what will be revealed today might just alter everything. The judge calls the court to order. His gavel taps once, crisp and final. Today is not about evidence or testimony, but about the truth, the kind that hurts, exposes, and shatters. And the first bombshell comes almost immediately. A previously undisclosed witness, a former family confidant who has observed Kody's actions for years, is called to the stand. The courtroom murmurs. Anticipation ripples through the air. This witness promises to reveal information that the sisters themselves have not yet seen. The witness speaks slowly at first, choosing each word with care. They speak of private conversations, of secret meetings, and manipulations that have gone unseen for years. Christine leans forward, her eyes narrowing as the narrative unfolds. Kody shifts uncomfortably, his jaw tightening as he realizes that his carefully guarded image is beginning to crumble. Every revelation seems calculated to expose the deepest fractures in the family, and each sister reacts visibly, her emotions raw and unfiltered. Robyn rises, her voice steady but sharp, recounting events corroborated by the witness. She describes subtle emotional manipulations, moments where Kody's decisions divided the family, and the quiet pain endured by the sisters over the years. Her words flow with a mix of calm authority and simmering emotion, creating a powerful contrast to the chaos that surrounds her. It's Meri's turn, and she struggles to keep her composure as remembered personal betrayals bubble to the surface. Tears threaten to spill as she recounts moments of exclusion, dishonesty, and favoritism that have shaped her perception of the family dynamic. Janelle, normally composed, grips her hands tightly in her lap, anchoring herself against a cascade of emotion. The courtroom is rapt, every onlooker leaning forward as the family's private struggles are laid bare in public. The prosecution produces a string of documents, emails, letters, and financial records that support the testimony of the witness. Each one shows a picture of secrecy, manipulation, and decisions made behind closed doors. Christine reads one specific, damning email aloud in a steady voice, laced with emotion. "You told us one thing, but did another. How can we ever trust you again?" The room hangs on every word as her sister's reactions swirl in a mashup of validation, anger, and heartbreak. Kody is called to respond, but his composure is slipping. His hands shake lightly as he attempts to explain, justify, and defend the choices he has made. However, every word he says seems to fall flat, failing to bridge the chasm between him and the sisters. The courtroom is tense as every pause in his speech is stretched unbearably while one waits for a response that might never satisfy. Robyn continues her testimony now, focusing on specific incidents where Kody's actions caused emotional pain and family conflict. She recalls being in a position where she had to mediate between sisters, a situation that pulled at her loyalty and emotional limits. Her words are deliberate as she paints a picture of strain and exhaustion endured in silence for years. Janelle adds her perspective, a retelling of events that further outlines the emotional cost of secrecy and control within the family. Christine stands again, this time her eyes fixed on Kody. Her questions are precise in the way they cut through rehearsed responses and make him contend with inconsistencies in his previous statements. The emotional weight in her words hangs heavy in the air, relentless and razor-sharp. Kody's explanations falter. His voice shakes as the curated scrutiny by the sisters pushes down on him. The courtroom is silent, its collective eyes glued to the high-stakes drama unfolding before them. But then comes a sudden twist. The bailiff enters with a sealed envelope in his hand, which the judge opens to reveal a set of documents that none of the sisters or Kody expected. Papers filled with intimate details, private conversations, and previously undisclosed financial decisions. Whispers abound in the courtroom as the weight of this new evidence settles in. Even the sisters are shocked, exchanging surprised glances, their faces acknowledging for the first time that secrets of the past run far deeper than they imagined. Meri's eyes widen as she reads one of the most personal notes, telling of a betrayal that she had suspected but was never confirmed. She folds it back with shaking hands, and a tear spills over her eyelid. Janelle closes her eyes for a second, her mind reeling from the enormity of what they had just heard. Robyn leans forward, her voice low but sure, underlining how serious these revelations really were, and how they affected trust and family dynamics. The session proceeds with the witness giving accounts of emotional manipulation, favoritism, and fractured loyalty. Christine presses him with detailed questions, taking apart Kody's past decisions and showing him the heartbreak for each sister. Kody tries to argue his point, but it falls on skeptical ears as one by one, the testimonies and undeniable evidence deflate his carefully built, self-preserving arguments. Robyn describes the emotional toll of living in a house divided by secrets, where every decision seemed to have hidden motives. Meri shares the personal heartbreak and moments of isolation she has faced that make her question her place within the family. Janelle gives examples of tension-filled conversations and arguments that had been left unresolved, showing long-term effects of secrecy. Christine's presence remains formidable. Her piercing questions and careful observations guiding the narrative toward an inevitable revelation. As the afternoon wears on, emotions reach a boiling point. Kody's composure is visibly strained, his hands now shaking as he attempts to navigate the onslaught of testimony and evidence. The sisters' expressions range from determination to raw emotional pain, their voices steady but heavy with the weight of years of frustration and betrayal. The courtroom is on edge, every movement and reaction magnified in the tense atmosphere. The session draws towards a climax as the witness reveals a secret that had remained hidden for years. It's a personal confession, one that implicates not only Kody, but also touches upon the dynamics between each sister, exposing unresolved tensions and deep-seated emotions. The courtroom is silent, absorbing the gravity of the revelation. Kody's face pales while the sisters exchange looks of shock, validation, and unbelief. The judge orders a short break, but the weight of the session has not yet dissipated. Sisters take a moment to collect their thoughts. Quiet murmurs and expressions reveal fear and determination in their eyes. Kody sits in silence, his walls of secrecy crumbling. The gallery remains engrossed, with a premonition that the next session could bring even more shocking and emotionally charged developments. The courtroom opens to a tense hush, thicker than any before. The walls are polished and stoic, seemingly to echo the collective heartbeat of all who are enclosed within. Kody Brown sits at the defendant's table, his shoulders rigid and his hands clasped tightly, as if to hold on to the last shred of control. The weight of past sessions hangs over him like a storm cloud, and he knows the next revelations could change everything forever. Across the room, the sisters sit poised, a blend of anticipation, fear, and determination etched across each face. Christine leans forward, eyes sharp and unbending. Her lips press into a thin line as she surveys the room, soaking in the tension. She knows today's testimony and evidence could corroborate years of suspicion, frustration, and hurt. Meri sits beside her, trembling slightly, biting her lip to hold back tears. Janelle rests her hands on the bench, her calm exterior taut with suppressed emotion. Robyn sits wordless, her gaze steady, as if measuring every move and ready to respond to whatever may come along. The judge calls the court to order, and the murmur in the gallery dies immediately. Today is no longer just a legal proceeding. It's an emotional reckoning, a confrontation with long-hidden truths. First comes the surprise in the form of the anonymous documents introduced the previous day. These pages, now fully examined, reveal intimate details of Kody's communications, financial decisions, and personal choices that none of the sisters had ever fully seen. Each document carries weight, every word a dagger that threatens to pierce the fragile family bonds. Christine takes the first step, reading aloud from the documents. Her voice is calm, but carries the weight of years of suppressed anger and hurt. The emails and letters detail actions taken without the sisters' knowledge, promises broken, and subtle manipulations that have gone unchecked for years. The courtroom absorbs each word with rapt attention. Kody's face tightens, jaw clenched as if to physically contain the rising panic. Robyn stands next, walking towards the witness stand. She describes incidents, corroborated by those documents, where Kody's decisions tore them apart as a family and brought emotional hurt. Her voice is steady, almost serene, yet the intensity of her delivery leaves no doubt of the personal anguish these actions caused. She talks of nights of whispered arguments, silent frustration, and the crushing weight of decisions made without consultation, and the quiet loneliness of bearing that weight alone. Meri is called upon, and she struggles to hold back tears as she recounts personal betrayals revealed in the documents. "I trusted him," she whispers, voice trembling. "I believed we were all in this together. But the truth? The truth is far more painful than I imagined." Her words hang in the air, like smoke, filling every corner of the courtroom with the raw weight of vulnerability. Janelle, normally composed, tightens her hands. A slight tremor betrays her emotions. The prosecutor runs the session with measured precision, linking emails, letters, and documents to actual situations and emotional repercussions. Christine's cross-examination becomes a masterclass in restrained intensity. Each question reveals a contradiction. Every barbed phrase bangs home a betrayal, and every pause makes Kody confront the reality of decades of secrecy. His defenses falter. Before everyone's eyes, the image of control and authority he carefully maintained starts to crumble. Robyn continues her testimony, recounting a specific instance where Kody's actions forced her into a position of emotional compromise. She had to mediate between sisters, bear the brunt of conflicts, and navigate decisions that should have been shared but were kept hidden. Her words are deliberate, highlighting the emotional and relational strain of living in a family divided by secrecy and manipulation. Janelle follows, recounting events from her perspective, showing how Kody's choices caused tension, mistrust, and quiet resentment. She speaks of nights spent wondering whether her concerns mattered, of moments where silence was forced upon her, and the slow erosion of trust over years. The courtroom feels like it is collectively holding its breath. Every listener can feel the intensity and gravity of these testimonies. And then, out of the blue, the clerk presents a new piece of evidence, a private letter never shared before. The envelope quivers slightly in his hands, as if presaging the effect of what will be read from it. Christine opens it gingerly and begins to read aloud. The letter reveals a conscious decision by Kody to choose one relationship over another, supported by years of conversations and intentions previously undisclosed. The courtroom gasps. Even the judge leans forward, eyes wide with astonishment. Meri's hands are shaking. The words hit her hard. Her lips quiver, tears welling, and all the emotional scarring buried for so long surfaces in a flood. Robyn's gaze is unyielding, unwavering, but the ferocity in her eyes increases, filled with anger and determination. Janelle exhales shakily, fortifying her spine against a weight of words she had long suspected but was never sure. Christine's voice is even, measured, each word cutting through the atmosphere like a scalpel. Kody rises to respond, but his composure falters. His voice is tight, shaking as he tries to justify decisions made in secrecy. "I thought I was protecting the family," he says, the words thick with unspoken regret. Even as he speaks, though, evidence, letters, and testimony from the sisters weigh in, leaving little room for defense. The courtroom is suffocating, every gaze a burn, every whisper absorbed into thick tension. Robyn steps forward again to retell the emotional impact of Kody's secret decisions. She outlines how the manipulation, although subtle, forced each sister into silence, suspicion, and frustration. The weight of living with secrets and unspoken betrayals is clear in this painting of the personal cost of deception. Meri adds her reflections to share the heartbreak and quiet despair that has accompanied years of trust placed in Kody. Christine is firm that all the truth be told, and then produces the final set of documents, financial records intermingled with personal communications that show favoritism, emotional manipulation, and hidden alliances. Each one of those revelations hits like a gut punch. Kody's defenses are crumbling. He is now shaking, a fine film of sweat forming on his brow. The sisters glance around at each other. Their emotions are raw, validation and heartbreak, with deepened resolution. The prosecution summarizes the evidence, connecting the letters, emails, and financial records into a cohesive narrative of secrecy, manipulation, and emotional betrayal. Christine then confronts Kody directly, her voice calm but full of intensity. "We trusted you, we followed you, and yet the truth of your choices has left us fractured. How could you let this go on for so long?" Kody opens his mouth, words faltering. Decades of secrecy weigh upon him emotionally, leaving him almost speechless. As the session neared its end, the sisters stood as one voice seemed to resonate throughout the courtroom as they laid out their emotions, frustrations, and heartbreak. Kody's composure was gone. That carefully maintained image of authority and control had fallen to pieces before collective scrutiny. There was complete silence in the courtroom, with each spectator, juror, and participant in that drama realizing they were privy to a moment in the family's history which might forever change the course of relationships, trust, and loyalty. The judge calls a recess, and yet that tension seems to hang in the air like smoke. The sisters collect themselves, their eyes locking in telling glances, while Kody sits in quiet contemplation. All the weight of years of hidden secrets and lies now settles upon him. The gallery is riveted, speculating that the next session could reveal even more shocking truths.